All right, here we go. In five, four, three, two. Okay, welcome to the debut episode of the Wrestling Retrospective. I am your host, Ernest, EJ Christian. Looking forward to doing this podcast every so often. First episode here, joined by, of course, the man, James Big Jim Nies. It's actually not our first watch along. This show is actually it's not our first watch along. We did one last year. But this show, which will be on our Speaking Podcast feed, of course, is going to be watch-alongs, discussion points about old retro wrestling topics, or just whatever it may be, whatever anything has to do with old school topics, watch-along, whatever it may be. So that's the concept we're going to do here. So our first episode we're going to do here is going to be plus it is actually the 20th anniversary of this match. It is the classic icon versus icon from Wrestlemania 18. Of course, that is Hollywood Hulk Hogan versus the Rock. 20. Dude, it's been 20 years since that match.
Dude, it doesn't make sense that it's 20 years old. I mean, every year we do this. I mean, the day we're recording this, I saw it's 30 years to the day since WrestleMania 8, the Piper Brett match.
Savage
Flair, of course, Warrior coming back during the Hogan Sid thing. But like, damn man, like it's unreal how quick time moves along. Like this, I mean, it sometimes when you see where the product's at today and where the business is at today, this seems like 100 years ago. But for 20 years, that's a long time that's gone real quick.
Now, did you watch this match or this Mania in real time?
Yes. Yeah, I want to say most of them. Yeah, I want to say from like 14. So I watched 7 and 8 and 9. I know for sure.
In real time.
10 in real time. 12 in real time. And then I think like 15 through 20. I watched in real time because that was like middle school, high school, and like my brother had friends that were into wrestling. I had friends that were into wrestling, so we would always get like Rumble, Mania, and SummerSlam for sure. Those were always King of the Ring. We would usually throw in all the summer ones because we were out of school. So but we would always chip in, $5-10 or whatever, depending how many people got together. But yeah, this one I definitely watched in real time.
Yeah, I wasn't allowed to watch wrestling. I wasn't allowed to watch wrestling. Well, let me rephrase that. When WrestleMania 7 you mentioned was the first WrestleMania you saw, I was 11. Well, turning 11 that year when that happened. I did watch it, but my mom was always resistant to me watching wrestling back then because it was too violent, of course. So like,
I think Ryan from 3 Count. I think his mom was kind of like that, but his grandpa loved wrestling, so that's how he was able to kind of get a pass.
Right. So it was just weird because so I would rent these videos when they come out after a month or two after they were done. So technically the first WrestleMania I actually watched in real time in the moment was actually 15 probably.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, I remember it was 7. It was a guy who worked with my dad. We went over to their house and watched WrestleMania 7. I'll never forget. I can picture to this day. We walked in their living room. We can picture the living room, couch, TV, the old console set on the floor, with the cable box on top. You had to get the special cable box. Try explaining that kind of stuff to kids today.
I'm glad you said that because do you remember the time where like pay-per-view channels or premium channels, like if you didn't have it, like you can watch it, but it'll be like squiggly on the TV.
Yeah, the scramble pay-per-view, scramble porn.
Right. So technically, WrestleMania 8 I did watch.
Okay, I got you.
9 and 9, and then I stopped watching wrestling for a little bit off and on, like for 10, 11, and I came back with 12. I got a WCW at that point because Hogan went to WCW and NWO started all that. So, but really, the first WrestleMania I actually watched in real time with no consequence, I was an adult, was 15.
Nice.
First Rock Austin. So anyway, before we get started, I said WrestleMania 18 is going to be the watch along today. Hogan and Rock. I would suggest you guys also listen to the podcast. Listen to this podcast. Also, if you want to stay in sync with us, let's do it in regular speed. Don't do 1.5 and all that. Make sure you stay in regular speed. For starters. The timestamp will be 2 hours and 25 minutes and 49 seconds to start. We're gonna go through the promo, not promo, the video package before getting into the match, of course. Couple of notes here. This happened March 17, 2002 in Toronto, Canada, at the Sky Dome. It was the first appearance of the Sky Dome in WrestleMania since WrestleMania 6. Hogan and Warrior, of course. The attendance was 68,237 fans. The buy rate was 860,000. The record-breaking attendance was Sky Dome was 68,237, gross approximately 6.1 Canadian dollars, which is 3.9 million US dollars. Or a little factoids there, you know. So I guess without further ado, we can get this party started and do some commentary for the first ever Wrestling Retrospective episode here. It's Hulk Hogan versus The Rock, WrestleMania 18, and we'll get started in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and record. Look at Hogan's arms. Even it's old ass.
Brother must pose, brother.
I'll tell you right now, these two guys here are in my personal top 4 favorite wrestlers of all time. Okay. I root for Hogan in this match for the record. I'm a Hogan disciple, as I told you. But obviously, 2022 I have mixed feelings about Hulk Hogan. Obviously.
I mean, it was like, yeah. I mean, as a grown adult in 2022, you know, there's mixed feelings about Terry and Hulk. But I think we've had those discussions before on a different show, different time. But Hulk Hogan, I don't know if he's in my personal top like 5 of all time, like favorite wrestlers, but like when you're talking Mount Rushmore,
there's no doubt.
There's no doubt. Like you know, it's like it's the, you know, it's the pillars, the quote unquote, that gets way too overused in wrestling anymore.
Right.
But like he's one of them. Like absolutely, whether he's in my personal top favorites or not, I don't know that he would crack my top 5, and it's probably shifted over the years.
Well, it's funny because like I've been able to separate Terry and Hulk. We had a discussion last year around WrestleMania too, because of the fact that, you know, he was the host of WrestleMania 37, and the reaction he was getting at Mania was not too kind. I remember saying too, I think you and I did a podcast leading up to WrestleMania saying that you sure to do the right thing here by having Hogan, you know, lead out this thing, because Hogan's his image is not the best right now, you know. So, and it played out and such. Like even Mike and Joe, my co-hosts Take the Wrestling, they were at WrestleMania and they said it was worse than it was shown on the video.
Yeah,
it was actually worse.
I mean, as we're recording this, you heard last night when Cody mentioned his name in his promo on Raw, and he got booed out of the building. So
yeah, I tweeted that out actually earlier today. No, so all this here, so this lead up to the match, the package is great. I actually I was watching wrestling around this time too, but around late 2001, took a little break, a little bit. You know, I still knew what was going on, but I just I wasn't week to week as I was for most Attitude Era. I came back because I heard Hogan was coming back. And I remember watching this Raw right here when all this happened. All the truck and
the truck and the ambulance, like
watch that in real time. And you know, I was like, whoa, this is fantastic. This is actually
the amount of money this company spent on destroying cars in this era was just insane.
but it's funny though, I was also a big Rock mark back then too. So, you know, it was weird. Like my 2 favorite guys of all time wrestling each other in a Mania. I was like, this is crazy, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I remember at the time, because this wasn't quite Hollywood Rock yet. Like this was pre-Hollywood Rock.
White me baby face.
You know, so he's still this white hot baby face, and of course Hogan, they bring in the NWO, but like the WWE fans hadn't had Hulk Hogan in a long ass time. So like, you know, you bring him in and like the end of, you know, at post WCW, like the NWO thing was different. Like the whole idea of Vince McMahon gonna destroy my own company with that lethal poison, it was out there, man. And then, you know, I just remember like for Hogan to be back in the friggin' Sky Dome, like it was like this was really the perfect storm. It really was. Look at that fucking stage, man. Just so much steel
Yes.
in that stage, man. That's like attitude era freaking early ruthless aggression just at its best.
This entrance gives you goosebumps.
Mm-hmm.
You're expecting him to get booed out the fucking stadium, and instead the entire crowd is literally cheering him as though it's like 1986 again.
Yeah, like even here it was like, wait, what's happening right now? Like,
I think even he's shocked. Look at him. He's like the whole for life thing. This is Hollywood Hogan. This is Hollywood, the biggest heel in the in pro wrestling for the last, like, at this point.
Yeah. It was freaking wild, man. Like, I mean, and obviously the way it progressed through the match, as we'll see here in a couple minutes, was just it was amazing. It was incredible. But it's just, it's at that point, as a WWE fan, and it actually has almost worked out better that we record this tonight, because we were supposed to record this last week. Baby, right. You took the night off. You weren't feeling well.
Right.
But think about this for a second. Think of the parallels to where we are 20 years later. Now, I'm not saying Cody Rhodes was the biggest heel in the business or anything like that. Right. But think of Cody post WWE and everything that he did, and he created his name and his brand on the indie scene, and he went to Ring of Honor, and he went to New Japan, and he helps create AEW, and the way that the WWE diehards treated and felt about Cody for the last 3.5, 4 years.
Because of AEW, of course.
Because of AEW. And think of how the AEW fan felt about Cody. And now Cody comes home, like Hogan came home. And look at the reception Cody got, and look at, like, now obviously you didn't have WCW anymore when Hogan was here, but like Cody, who to the WWE fan was like public enemy, same as Hogan was. He went to WCW, he's the biggest heel, and then he comes home and it's at WrestleMania, and you can't help but cheer. I mean, so it's a strange parallel to what we had just seen play out in real time over the past few days, to kind of where this Hulk Hogan, this Hollywood Hogan was at this point.
Yeah. It's just, yeah, you're right. I totally agree with you on that. Yeah. And actually, in hindsight, actually, it was great we recorded tonight as opposed to last week, because to add that nugget to it, though. No, this match, I remember watching this. I had goosebumps. That Hogan entrance is amazing. Rock's getting still getting cheered, but you hear some boos there too. I'm like,
yeah, it was different. There was a weird energy that night. How weird is it to see the Rock? And it sounds funny because the dude was still built like a fucking $1 million at the time. Yeah. But look how small he looks compared to how big he is now.
I will say, though, there was a little bit of burnout on The Rock here at this point of this run with him, because he had been a babyface now for about 3 years now.
Yeah.
And not that I didn't enjoy him as what he's doing, but I did feel like even back then that, maybe a heel turn wouldn't be the worst thing in the world.
Well, the thing about him is he was such a good heel that, like, for him to always be a long baby face like that is tough. Like, like the Miz, like when the Miz is a baby face, like no matter how good he is at it, he's so much better as a heel. Like I love Hollywood Rock, Nation of Domination Rock, Corporation Rock. So, like him as a heel is so much better than him as a face.
I love Hollywood Rock by far, and because I feel like we appreciate it more because it was a short-lived thing, because it wasn't that long. I feel like The Rock, though, was a little more blurred lines, kind of like Austin in a sense, because even when The Rock turned face in '99 after the first Rock Austin Mania match, a month later, he was still kind of a jerk. But because of that era, because of Austin being, yeah, he was a face, but he was still an asshole. Rock was still kind of a jerk, but people liked that. That was the era of the anti-hero. Eventually, The Rock got to the point where he was a white meat babyface.
Dude, I love what they did in that moment at the start of that match.
Let the crowd
just stand there and let the crowd tell the story.
So
like, I think that's something gets lost in a lot of wrestling today.
Mm-hmm.
One company more than the other, but we'll let that go.
Yeah.
But you gotta, when those moments have those special moments, like let them have their moment.
Yeah.
Like we saw that at times, this past weekend. Let moments breathe. When there is something special happening, give it time. Like, if something has to get cut, if time has to get shaved a little bit on something later, deal with that. But if there is something this big and this powerful and this special, let it have its time. And The Rock and Hogan did that.
But that's the thing too. Also, like honestly, I'm gonna confess something here. If you watch this match without the sound down, which I am right now, obviously, it's not a great match. Actually, it's actually is a average match. What makes this match special is again the moments, just the letting it breathe. And sometimes you don't need backflips every two or three goddamn seconds just to make a match great. Sometimes you let the crowd feel like they're part of something special. And look at it, little things. And it's something that Roman Reigns is absolutely he gets that. Roman Reigns gets it because Hogan was kind of the first guy to do this, at least since modern wrestling. Less is more. He's great. He's great at less is more. Austin's great at less is more. Roman Reigns is fantastic at less is more.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
And even The Rock, who's actually not a bad wrestler, he gets it. He gets the bigger scope.
Yeah, I mean, like neither of these guys, in this match ever needed to have a 45-minute, um, 5.5 star New Japan Classic for Dave Meltzer. Like they got it. They got the crowd. They got they got what sports entertainment.
Yeah.
Which all pro wrestling is, no matter what some people might want to tell you it is or isn't. Um, these guys got it, man. These guys got it. They understood.
They understood the assignment. Absolutely. Um. Yeah. This is actually a this is post WCW, obviously a year after WCW went out of business. Um. Wrestling was weird. See, someone like me, I was not into the dirt sheets and stuff back then either. I didn't care. I just watched it just watch it as I took this as entertainment and that was it. So watching this stuff with the eyes I have now as opposed to what I had 20 years ago, so it's so different because if I had today's eyes back in 2002, 2001, whatever, I it probably a little different for me. But because everything felt like a surprise, Hogan comeback was a surprise.
Yeah.
That's why I can appreciate it a lot more differently now than I did back then.
Yeah, it's hard, but sometimes you like, even now, I think you have to just maybe just kind of trust that maybe we don't know what all's going on, because like case in point to the whole Cody thing is, I was like, look, do I think he's definitely coming back at some point? Absolutely. Do I know it's happening at Mania, even though everybody they're giving on all the signs? Like, I think leading right up to it, until you heard his music on Saturday night, um I think there was still a question if it was actually going to be him there. Um yeah, it is definitely different. It is without a doubt different, and we're older, and the internet has changed everything.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, in something like this, and I look at this match and I'm like, man, would this match, the way it played out, have been what it was then? Would it still be that today? But then you see something like Austin and KO from this past Saturday.
Amazing.
And it, that was a moment, and the crowd bought in, and the crowd had fun, and the crowd played along, and that was so important to the whole thing too. When you have the biggest star in the business, this match we're watching here has two of the biggest stars in the history of the business. um that helps, but the crowd playing along is the biggest thing.
Yeah. one of the things I love about Rock, especially here, he sells Hogan. He sells so well for Hogan here. Like,
Mhm.
because Hogan has the big punch. He's gonna fall on the floor. He sells. Like, the Rock gets it. He gets it.
Oh, sure. Yeah, again, it's not the cleanest match. Hogan at this point is well on the tail end of his career.
Yeah.
Even though unbelievably he would go on to wrestle
Come on.
numerous more years in WWE and in TNA. But he wasn't the same as he was. And I feel like this run was some of the last times that you saw a really good leg drop out of Hogan, because that really didn't help him at all. But man, like, you just see the crowd, like they're bought in to everything these guys are doing, man. Like,
It's weird. Like, like I've mastered this, I guess, for many years now. I can suspend my discomfort for Hulk Hogan or Terry Bollea and still be invested in Hogan the character and feel like I'm 6 years old again. Like, yeah, this is my guy. Say a prayer, eat vitamins, believe in yourself. And then when he turns heel, I'm still invested. Like, it's even to this day, I can still like spin reality for some reason. It's strange. Cause I'm sitting rooting for Hogan here right now.
I
So,
mean, it takes you back to it, to a different time, and I go back and I watch old WrestleManias and ones that from when I was younger, and like you just kind of transform, and like a weekend even now, like when I'm watching WrestleMania, and we got together as the 3 count guys on Saturday, and like just sitting around with five people that are just invested in the fun of WrestleMania. It takes you back to a simpler time, so to speak, when it was easier to just be a wrestling fan.
yeah, no doubt about that. I mean, again, I was turning 22 this year when this match came on, but this is actually was like my last like hurrah because, as you know, my story, I stopped watching pretty much after this match, after this Mania. I think maybe I watched a couple of weeks and then I think I was gone. I was gone, and I was gone for 19 years. Like, I probably checked in like maybe once or twice here and there to see what's going on, to see the polls. But I after this, I was no longer an avid wrestling fan. I was doing other things. I was in the bands and stuff, so I had other things talking about my life. Wrestling
Yeah,
was
I had checked out for a little while. I mean, it was WrestleMania 20 we got because of the return of Undertaker, but then I mean I was in college, and so from post WrestleMania 20 till WrestleMania 26, I was pretty much out of it. I think friends of mine, if they still got like Royal Rumble or SummerSlam or WrestleMania, I think we would get together. But I didn't really watch it that much on a weekly basis at that point. Um, and then it was the return of Bret Hart
yes,
that got me back in.
that was 2010, right?
That was, well, yeah, it was 20, no, it was 2009 because it was WrestleMania. No, you're right. It was 2010 because it
Okay,
was WrestleMania 26.
okay, okay. I didn't know that until recently that he had a match with Vince.
I mean, if you want to call that a match, but sure.
No, so I confess this, and I'm gonna try to do this next year on my podcast. I'm going to rank all 38 WrestleManias sometime next year. Not just, and I'm talking about the card, not just like oh well, one match here. No, the entire card. Does these cards hold up? Whatever. I already know my bottom five. My bottom five is going to be pretty easy to guess. The first two are going to be in there, definitely the bottom five.
First two aren't good. I recently watched one and then not good. Um,
Two is
11 should be in there.
the only thing that says 11 is really is Shawn and Diesel. Although Mike and I got in a fight about that.
That match ain't good, man.
That's
Go
about,
watch that match again. That ain't good.
I didn't. I
The
well,
best match of the night, but it doesn't mean it was good.
I thought Shawn was great.
Oh, yeah, that wasn't good. 9 wasn't a good Mania.
9. What's funny is that we say that, but 9 actually had. I don't know. I watched. I've been to watch 9 actually.
Yeah, it's not good. It had a cool venue, which was important.
Yeah, I've watched the first 19 WrestleManias in completion.
Okay.
So I'm missing 20 through 34 that I haven't watched in completion. Now I've watched since come back in 2019. I've obviously watched the big moments in those Manias. Like I watched, Michaels against Taker twice. Obviously the two, you know, Michaels against Flair. All the big matches. But I have not watched. There are 14 WrestleManias I have not watched in completion. 20 through 34. So I need to watch that.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. This Mania, this was a good Mania actually too. Would you rank this Mania? Without not giving a number, but like top 10, top 5, top bottom 5, top. I don't know. I feel
This
like the top.
one's probably without really digging in. This one's probably definitely top 10.
You think so?
Yeah, this one I remember
The card.
being great. I mean, 17's an all-timer. 19's really good.
19 might be the greatest card. Mike disagreed with me on this one on the podcast a couple weeks ago, but I still say on paper, 19 was probably the best card top to bottom. You had literally like four eras in all in one.
The card of 19 is insane.
I mean, you have Chris Jericho and Shawn Michaels. Okay, you still have Rock and Austin representing Attitude Era. You still have Hogan.
Mm-hmm.
Representing the Hulkamania era. You have guys there still. Okay, so Shawn Michaels would technically be the new generation.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you have every era, and you have the new Luther Aggression era too, being represented obviously, with Brock and Angle being the guys of the future.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, 19's right up there with the best WrestleManias ever. I mean, it really is. It's up there. And we've kind of touched on different parts of that discussion over the last month.
Mm-hmm.
Great low blow by Hogan, by the way.
Rock bottom too. Look at that. What? Rock bottom. Rock bottom.
Like over the last month, we've kind of touched on some of those points on 3 count and there's been some recent manias in the last decade that have been among the best of all time. Oh, he's taking the belt off. Here we go, brother.
I feel like this, not to be pushing the moment, I feel like this year's is going to hold up pretty well.
This year's is an all-timer. This year's is in the top 10 easily.
What's weird is the card itself isn't very impressive.
That's all right.
It's the moments.
Exactly. And like I think Saturday had more moments overall. Sunday had the better executed card overall. But yeah, WrestleMania 38 was far better than it had any business being when we were looking at it.
That's what I was saying though. Coming to the Mania, I kept saying like that. It's probably a good thing I'm not excited about it because it leaves space for surprises.
I like when and it sounds funny because you would think you would want a great build. Man, Rock is laying them shots in.
Yep.
But I think about, and it's funny because the parallels of WrestleMania 32, which was in AT&T Stadium, that had a phenomenal build, and I disliked that show so much.
Is that bottom 10?
I don't know if it was bottom 10 because the matches themselves were pretty good, but I thought the booking decisions in the winners were really bad choices. But 31, one of the better manias, hawking up, baby, had a bad build, but it was a great mania. This year, lackluster build, but great mania. So it's like I almost prefer if there's a bad build because it gives you the opportunity to be pleasantly surprised. If you have a great build, your expectations are too high.
Leg drop.
Dude, his leg drop, man, was so good.
Like, is he gonna win this shit? Really? Is he gonna win this shit? I was like, no, never mind.
Look at that crowd, man.
Sick. the reason why I forget how we feel about Hogan personally. The reason why Hogan is to me the GOAT, or at least number two behind Austin. See, Austin. The reason why I give Austin the credit for, in terms of like number one now, is because his relevancy 20 years later is still,
Yeah.
Scott. You know what I'm saying? Even though he had a shorter career, a shorter peak, if you will. Oh, missed it. But it's so hard to be the biggest babyface ever, and then be the biggest heel ever, probably, arguably. Hogan did that, and did it to perfection.
Yeah.
It's hard to execute both ways.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, Austin. Austin had a couple of heel times. When he did when he was like the head of the alliance and stuff. But he never really had to flip that switch to full heel once he was
Right.
Austin 316. And the few times they tried it, it just never really worked all that well.
The greatest move ever in sports entertainment. I love the people's elbow.
It's so good. It's so good, especially for the time. It was just perfect with the merchandising machine. Him throwing the elbow pad.
Mm-hmm.
I still say the best people's elbow of all time was the time he slid on the with the loafers. You remember that one? He had when he had his dress shoes on and he actually slid in the ring
on SmackDown.
Yep, this is so fucking. He had like
he could build up. There was actually a trivia question. Wait, you on the show actually? I think on that episode with us. Trivia question: who was the person he elbowed?
Oh yes, I forgot already.
It was David Boy Smith.
That's right.
Yeah, he was wearing jeans. That match felt faster than it did initially when I first saw this.
Yeah, it was only. I looked at the time. It was only what a 16.5-minute match.
Mm-hmm.
But you had the entrance, you had the great video lead in, and then of course there's all the post match, which we'll see.
Right.
And I just I love that after this, he had to go going into Raw the next night. I was like, there's no way that you can. I remember as being a kid. This was, what year was this? It was 2002. So I was.
You was probably 17, I think, right?
16. So I'd have turned 17 in the summertime. Even as a kid, I'm like, he's got to go back to being like Hulk Hogan, not Hollywood. You know what I mean? I was just even then, I was like, he's got to be Hulk Hogan again after this, because people want him to be Hulk Hogan.
I wonder if the plan was actually to go back to that at some point. I maybe this night change that.
It may have been the plan at some point, but I don't think it was going to happen as quickly as it did. I think it they saw what the crowd did, and then what the Raw After Mania crowd did, and was like, okay, we have to change this now.
Yeah. He did, to his credit, he did do it. He did I thought he brought the Red Yellow back the week after this, I think.
Yeah, because I think that if memory serves, the next night on Raw, Hall and Nash did a beatdown gimmick, because he came out and the crowd was cheering him, and they were betrayed by him or whatever,
right?
Because the crowd was cheering him.
Well, they come out now, actually. I think they come out right now, don't they? Yeah, they come out now, actually, in the match. If I'm not mistaken. I think.
I don't remember them coming down after the match, but I don't know for sure. I feel like they did the Hogan must pose stuff here.
Yeah. Brother.
So did he tear a tit or something in this match? Where he's holding his side?
Saggy boobs. I think Hogan is in his 40s still this time.
Okay, yeah, there's Hall and Nash.
Rest in peace, Scott Hall. He's my top 10 all-time favorites, by the way. Always been.
Oh, he was so good.
Toothpick. There's Nash.
Do you think Austin Theory selling the stunner the way he did on Sunday was a tribute to Scott Hall? Because Scott Hall at this Mania.
Funny you said that, because when I saw that stunner, that's the first thing that comes to mind. It's like, that looks like Scott Hall.
Yeah, I wonder if that was done on purpose, and if it is, Austin Theory is my favorite wrestler in the world right now.
By the way, I should have mentioned this during the match, because there's a lot of controversy back then too about who should have gotten the match with Hogan, him, Rock, or Austin. I thought initially it should have been Austin. In hindsight, I think they made the right move.
Absolutely, they made the right move, because a year before you did the thing in Texas with Austin turning heel, and then they realized it was a dumb move and all of that. Whereas here, when you like to create that atmosphere of who's the bad guy, who's the good guy, I don't know that would have worked with Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Right.
And Austin was more of a brawler than Rock was. Rock was Austin was a sports entertainer who brawled once the bell rang. The Rock is a sports entertainer from bell to bell and even after the bell.
Right. No, I'm with you on that one. And it's funny too, because Austin, Austin ended up leaving the company for a little bit in a few months after this.
Yeah.
He just obviously doing because of the whole Brock Lesnar, no build, I'm out of here, that kind of thing. I feel like that probably started here, because Austin was pissed off that he was not in the main event.
That he was only working Scott Hall. Sure.
Who did you agree with Austin's? He had a point, I guess, because Austin was still arguably top guy in the company still at that time. I mean, him and Rock are probably even at this point, but
yeah, I mean, being in the middle of the card against Scott Hall, like, who just came back, I guess you could see that as a bit of a slight when The Rock gets the Hogan match. Jericho went over Austin to be the undisputed champion, and then Triple H gets the match with Jericho. Like, could it have been Triple H Austin in the main event, like, and not giving that spot to Jericho? But I thought Jericho, especially with the angle with Stephanie and all of that, it made sense. So I mean, it obviously didn't hurt Austin in the long run. as he was the MVP of WrestleMania 38 in 2022. So
right. But yeah, I wonder if Austin got the Triple H matches, it's supposed to, was Jericho got it this year? Yeah. Maybe that would tempered his attitude, because he wasn't in a good way this year. 2002 was a rough year for him.
Yeah. I mean, that obviously, and when you walk away from the company and a lot of money at the time.
Which, by the way, the whole thing with him and Brock, I agree with him on, for the record.
Yeah. I think it wasn't losing to Brock. It's the nature in which right, just on a random Monday Night Raw for no reason. Yeah, that should have been, because that was what, part of the King of the Ring.
Yes,
that should have been the finals of the King of the Ring.
Right.
And I think if you do that, Austin doesn't get pissed and go home.
That's one thing about Rock I always respected, and I'm not comparing Rock and Austin, who was a better guy, that kind of thing. But The Rock never had a problem putting guys over. Never had a problem with
that. I also think it's because Rock. I think there came a point where Rock knew that he had a life beyond wrestling.
Yeah, but even he was doing this stuff even before the movies thing started. Like, we'll go back to like 99, 2000. Like, he lost the main event to Triple H at Mania, the Mania, probably the worst Mania of all time, 16. Triple H, normally the babyface wins the Mania. Time that heel actually won.
Yeah,
a main event.
I mean, he gets it, because his family ran promotions, so I think he was able to see the bigger picture sometimes more than other people were.
Put over Brock, put over Austin. Put over Austin, but him, Austin won the first two Mania matches, of course. Put over Triple H a couple times. But I think he's the kind of guy also that he doesn't need a title either. He was that good.
No, and yeah, because people are going to tune in to see The Rock.
Yeah.
And they know he's going to get the title again eventually. Like that was just part of the nature of the beast back then. Is you were constantly going to get the title back.
Yeah. There's Hogan. It's on The Rock.
Such a great stage. Just
yes, excellent stage.
So much metal and screens. It's like such a perfect stage at the time for that era. Dude, I like WWF New York.
I never went. I wanted to go there, and I went there.
I was there one time. We took a field trip in high school. Our broadcasting and journalism departments went to New York. Did the NBC studio tour, and then we went down to Times Square. And the first year we went,
the Big Slow. That's Big Slow, isn't
it? That was the Big Slow with hair. All
right.
We got to pick the restaurant. We picked there, and I actually stole a magazine from there.
Mm-hmm.
They had a box of magazines in this VIP room, and it was signed by Terry Reynolds.
Oh, okay.
There was a box of them, and I just pulled one. A bunch of us pulled them out of there, and I was like looking through it on our bus and on a bus ride home, and I was like, oh shit, this thing's signed. I'm like, this is probably meant for like a giveaway or something, but fuck it. I've made it the last. That would probably have been. That probably would have been around this time. Then, because I want to say that might have been my junior year of high school. So yeah, that would have been about this time.
Yeah.
20 years. I think the statute of limitations is clear on that. I think I'm all right.
God, we're fucking old. So, any last thoughts on this one? As we wrap up, like I said, I'll say it again. If you watch this match it wasn't as enjoyable watching this match in silence without the crowd. You need the crowd to hear the crowd to understand why this match is so significant to the company.
Yeah, I turned my audio up a little bit on my end just so I could hear the buzz of the crowd. Because critical to this match. I mean this match is like the epitome of what a WrestleMania match should be. It's big. It's a big moment. It's it is just that it is a moment in time. The match again. If you want to believe in star ratings, it's not going to be a high star rating match.
Although
the moment is what it is so big.
Oh, I think Meltzer gave it 4.5 stars. I believe.
Did he?
Some pretty high.
Wow. He wouldn't do that today. If this match happened today, I think he gives it 3 stars at most.
That guy gets too much oxygen.
Not a good match. It's not a good match. It's nobody did any moves. Hogan just sweated all over the ring. But like, dude, I mean, like I said, the moment of them two standing in the ring before the match and listening to the crowd, Hogan hitting the leg drop, and you actually believing that Hogan is going to get that 3. The Rock kicking out was a surprise at that point.
Yeah,
because you were so invested in that moment. And then Rock gets the win, and you're like, you feel like you got punched in the gut because you think Hogan's going to win this. But then when you see it now again, you're like, okay, Rock winning was the right choice. But then all the post match stuff with the beatdown, and then Hogan and Rock posing together and walking up and standing at the ramp, and then 11 years later, Rock does that to John Cena. The time rolls along, and there's parallels and similarities in wrestling history, and those sort of moments were together one of them. So it's an all-time WrestleMania classic.
Yeah, it really is. Like I said, I probably should put up the volume a little bit on my phone to at least feel the energy of the crowd. But man, like I said, you look at moments like I if I told someone to, if someone came in on the planet and said, "Oh, I want to get into wrestling. I want to watch all the WrestleManias. Give me 5 matches I should watch WrestleMania history." This might be one of the 5 I tell someone to watch.
That's absolutely one of them. Absolutely one of them.
Because it's just the moments, and it gives you also the storytelling, the long-term storytelling of this, the legacies of both these guys now, especially 20 years later, it's, yeah, it's definitely I don't know where I rank it personally as my favorite like main events, and co-main events all time in WrestleMania history. It's up there though. It's pretty up there.
I mean, here's the deal. Like, you can look at you can look at a quote unquote Matt classic like Savage Steamboat. I don't know if I'm telling somebody if they've never watched wrestling and they want to see the best WrestleMania matches. I don't know if I'm telling them Savage Steamboat. Because
Really?
if you're not a wrestling fan, like a pro wrestling fan, like I don't know if you're gonna watch that and understand why that's so great.
I think obviously it's not a Sarah Steamboat episode here, but one of the reasons why I think one of the things that gets underrated about that match though is that had a great build too.
Oh no, I'm not taking away from the match or the build.
No, is that the match was so great that we forget how we got here.
Right.
The build was fantastic.
But for me, like this match is and like I am without a doubt giving them this match. I mean, it sounds funny, but if we're talking like those five, I'm giving them the Boneyard match. I want them. If I'm giving people a 5-match lesson in what WrestleMania is, I'm giving them moments. I'm giving them over the top stuff.
I'll tell you number one right now. I'm getting them Austin and Brett. Number one with a bullet.
Absolutely, Austin Brett. This one, like I said, maybe Boneyard match. I probably am giving them the WrestleMania, either the WrestleMania 30 main event or the WrestleMania 31 main event, because if you're trying to get somebody hooked, because if you actually are doing this, if you're playing it out to somebody,
right?
The purpose of something like that is to get somebody hooked,
yeah,
and make somebody a wrestling fan.
Show them,
give them moments that the crowd's going apeshit for, because you want to make them believe that WrestleMania is special, and they should, if nothing else, they should watch around Mania.
The only reason I'll get with the Boneyard match is because Metallica's on there,
dude. But it's so good. I rewatched it again the other week, and really? It is so fucking good. The Boneyard match, man.
I actually love the Cena Fiend match. Actually,
that was
music is
WrestleMania. Because I know I was talking about when I was on to Take 3 with you guys. We've talked about it on 3 Count over the last month, because we've been talking about WrestleMania stuff every week. And I said, I said, I'm pretty sure that WrestleMania 36 is really good, because it had to be. You weren't going to get people to tune in to an empty building and stay there if it wasn't good. And I watched it. I went back and watched it, man. The majority of those 2 nights were really, really good.
We get that WrestleMania with a full crowd. That might be a classic WrestleMania all time.
I think it's a classic WrestleMania as it stands.
I'm not saying the crowd,
but also if you get that WrestleMania in front of a crowd, you don't get the Boneyard match, and you don't get the Fiend versus John Cena. Because the reason he was able to do that is he didn't have to risk taking any bumps, because he was in the middle of doing movie stuff. I mean,
didn't consider doing something like that with the Taker and Styles before COVID?
Nope. Would have been in the ring. Because here's the thing: there wasn't. Why are people going to spend $6,000 or whatever to sit in front row of WrestleMania to watch? Because that was how long that match was. What, 30 some minutes or something? It
was a movie. It was like a little episode.
It was. Let me pull it up here quick. But it was. You're not going to make a crowd sit and watch a movie when you're going to kill the crowd. Either that, or you're going to ask people to do it. When they're leaving. Mm-hmm. It was 24 minutes. You're not going to make people watch a screen for 24 minutes. That's murder. That's killing. That's killing your audience. And if you play it when they're leaving, now you've had 80,000 people that have to go home and do homework. That doesn't work either.
That's true. Although that match was on a Saturday though, so
it was. Yeah.
So, all right, that was a fun first episode of the wrestling retrospective. We'll do a lot more of these. I think the next watch I'm going to do, you and I going to do is we just teased it, Brett and Austin from Mania
So
13,
good.
which is actually this year the 25-year anniversary of that match.
Crazy. Crazy.
Say for the record that if you take away that match off that card, that's probably one of the worst WrestleManias of all time.
Yeah, it's not a good one. It's not a good one. Sid Taker wasn't good.
Rock and Maivia and Sultan.
Yeah, how bad was? Let me pull that card up for a second.
Co-main event with I think it was like Ahmed Johnson and Legion of Doom against who was it? The opponents in that one?
Was that LOD 2000 or was that the next year?
That was next year.
That's right. Okay, so this was the free for all match was Billy Gunn defeating Flash Funk. The Headbangers defeated Furnace and LaFon, the Godwins, and the New Blackjacks. Rocky Maivia defeated the Sultan. Triple H defeated Gold Dust. With the China and Marlena, because that was when China had first debuted. Owen Hart and the Bulldog versus Mankind and Vader in a double countout. Ahmed Johnson and Legion of Doom defeated Nation of Domination. And then Undertaker said, "Wow, that's not a good Mania at all."
No, I listened to a podcast to who was it? Was it Grill and JR that just did this whole Mania? Was it but I mean either Grill and JR or something Wrestle reviewed that whole Mania. Yeah, it was not.
It's not good.
Brett Austin carried that entire show.
Saved it. Absolutely.
Without question. So, alrighty. So till next one.
All right, man.